Welcome to Contemporary Black Voices, where we come together to discuss diverse topics affecting the Black community. I am Dr. Sharon Michael Chadwell, your host for today's show, along with entrepreneur and community activist Chris Dawkins, and the man who brought this team together, Fred Williams, also known as the Writer Fred. Missing today is my right-hand partner, Caleb Alexander, who is a New York Best Times bestseller. So June is Pride Month, when the world's LGBTQIA plus communities come together and celebrate the freedom to be themselves. A police raid that led to a riot at Stonewall Inn on June 28, 1969, became the focal point for the gay rights movement in the United States and around the world. So on today's show, we welcome Dr. Lulu, who is a pediatrician, author, public speaker, and life coach for parents of LBGTQ plus children. Now, when Dr. Lulu and I talk, the purpose of today's show is to be able to ask questions, to receive answers for clarity. So again, welcome, Dr. Lulu. Is there anything else you would like our listening audience to know about you?
No, I'm just excited to be here. It's a little more subdued energy, because usually my energy is more. But today is also Pride Parade in San Antonio, so I think it's a good day to have this conversation. Okay. And I'm definitely excited to be talking to Black people about it. This is something that I didn't think I'll ever see this day. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, we got some questions. So cis is short for cisgender, and it's a term that means whatever gender you are now is the same as what was presumed to be for you at birth. This simply means that when a parent or doctor called you a boy or a girl when you were born. So it seems to me, or sounds to me, that there is more associated with the word or description of a person. Could you elaborate more on what is meant by cisgender in relation to gender identity and sexual orientation?
Yeah, I think the best way to address that question is to start with the definitions. I'm a teacher by nature. As a physician, I teach. That's what I do. So there's gender and then there's sexuality. And most people don't realize that they're two different things. It does say LGBTQIA, a PPOI2S at this point.
Oh my gosh. There's some more.
Plus, yes. So in all of that, you can imagine. And then the alphabet keeps growing. The more people are realizing that, you know what? Maybe this doesn't fit me so well. I love having this talk with Black people because we have been underdogs. So we know what it's like to be the one who's like trying to be erased. We know that, in as much as we may not always want to admit it. So when it comes to being cisgender, that means that the gender that your parents assigned you at birth, based only on your genitalia.
Okay.
You identify with that same gender.
Okay.
So that's what cisgender means. Gender diverse, though, means that there are other people who do not identify with the gender that was assigned to them at birth based on their genitalia. And as a physician, I know I can mention this, maybe people don't know, but 1 to 3% of the world, which is 8 billion people, are born intersex, meaning they have both external genitalia. So when we think about that scientifically, we know that there are people who actually are born with both. So what gender do you assign them? So just on a very practical basis, if we assign gender only based on genitalia, then it's only based on the two that we know.
Okay.
But then there's people who, well, they don't identify with their genitalia. That's the question. That's where gender diverse came in. And that's completely different from sexuality, which is who you're attracted to.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with your gender. So the teaching, the science behind it is that gender is actually a societal norm. It's like race. Race doesn't exist. We created race. Black, white, brown. Whose idea was that in my country there is no name for the color blue. There's no word in Nigeria, in Igbo land, the color blue doesn't have a name. We don't have gender. Everybody's they, them in my own indigenous language. So whose idea was it to make the table in French female or the sun in Spanish male? But in German, the sun is female. So whose idea was it to put all this gender? So when you go down and actually start studying the origin of gender, you will see that it was man-made. Man-made.
Okay.
So I just wanted to start with just the basics. Language is, English language is so deficient. I don't know if you all speak any other languages, but if you speak, I speak 9 languages. So I know that English language is lacking so many things. And so if you're going to base it on English language, then we need to be ready to know that there are many things that are not going to be recognized. For instance, just going back to something like he, him, and she, her, and they, them, I asked my father that. I said, so Daddy, what is the gender for men in my language? He was like, there's none. I said, oh, there's none? I wanted him to realize that his grandchild who's transgender is exactly that. The fact that there's no gender for boy or girl in the old Igbo language. So where did boy or girl come from? The colonialists.
Let me stop you there and ask you a
sure, no
question. First of all, you gave me an aha moment when you said that a person does not identify with the genitalia that they have been assigned to. And I think that helped me even to become more accepting, to understand and look at it from that way.
Thank you.
But the question that I have to you is, first of all, if you would please start and rewind this. I know Dr. Chadwell gave you the opportunity at the very beginning to talk about yourself. I would like to hear how you got to this point
okay.
and where it's come from. So please help me.
Thank you. And I know a lot of people, they always say that people's favorite topic is talking about themselves. I'm one of the few people that is not.
Okay.
I talk about the work that I do. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Because if you ask me to talk about myself, that's going to be like 2 days. So I appreciate you saying that. So just in a quick summary, when I was 16, I told my father, and I keep going here because my dad is a little bit older, and not that you're old, but just keep going here, just out of respect. Igbo people, Nigerians are very respectful. I don't know if you know that. So my dad, when I told my dad at 16 that I liked girls and boys, my dad said what he knew, that it's a phase. That's what my father told me out of love. He calls me Nne. Nne means mother, and I'm the first child, I'm the first daughter. So Neka means mother is the greatest. So that's that's what my dad is like a term of endearment. He said, Nne, it's okay, it's just a phase. People go through that. And what did I do at 16? I believed my father, because that's what we do. I mean, our parents are the lights, are the windows through which we see the world. So I was like, if my dad says that, then it is. And I put it at the back of my mind and never thought about it again until 26 years later. And I was like, you know what? I'm still attracted to women, even though my father said it's, it's a phase. This is 26 years old, and 26 years later, I was 42. I was like, this feeling is not going away. I didn't act on it, but I didn't create it. Also, I didn't make myself do it. I used to teach Bible study. I'm Catholic. I did all the things. So I know what the Bible states, even as I know that my grandfather was not a Christian. He was indigenous religion. He never accepted Christianity. But I know he's in heaven. You know why? Because he was the nicest person I've ever met. So I don't judge people based on their religion. I just judge based on how you treat me and how you treat others. So, but that aside, I kind of started thinking, if I still have this intense attraction to women, there must be other people out there. And I wonder what secrets people are keeping. Like, who's not trying to admit what they have because of fear of one thing or the other?
Let me ask you this. It was knowing that, and you might want to elaborate a little bit on, I know you coming to this particular show, that your country does not accept those people who might be of not binary or single.
You mean as far as transgender goes,
That's
or
correct.
the LGBT+ community? That's interesting, because Igbo land, I'm Igbo, and I've done a lot of study on Igbo land. Before the colonialists, Igbo women took wives. Yes, look it up on Harvard. It's a Harvard review. in Harvard is in the Harvard library. That piece is still there. Igbo women took wives. Many, I have a book, which is why I said I didn't bring the book. I have a book that I'm writing titled How to Become the Parent Your Child Needs. If you go right now on Google and just Google African countries, ancient African religion and homosexuality, we see Tanzania, Kenya, Nigeria, most African countries recognize same gender loving, same sex, even indigenous communities in America. They have the two spirits, which is, they were like the seers. They had both male and female spirits, right? So they were known as the teachers and the leaders. The colonialists came and said, no, we're going to give you this. This is how to do it. Your religion doesn't matter. Your Asian traditions don't matter. This is the way to do it. It's biblical or no way. And by the way, we're going to take you as slaves while we're talking about it. We're going to remove some of the Bible verses that talk about liberation. I mean, we know this. They took out all those verses so that we could, our ancestors, your ancestors, could remain enslaved in that mindset. Because if they read those words, they're going to be like, wait, let me ask a question. The same thing that happened with Adam. Said, don't eat the apple, because the day you eat the apple, you become wise. You become like God. You start asking questions. You notice your nakedness. And so the serpent said, taste it. Just taste it and see. And that's what happened. She tasted it. She was like, wait, I'm naked? So these are things that we know. So going back to your question, yes, Nigeria today doesn't recognize LGBT like Texas today doesn't. So you don't have to go too far. It's here with us. However, last week, I was the keynote speaker at Lagos Pride. It was virtual, but I was the keynote speaker. Lagos is Nigeria. I was the keynote speaker at Lagos Pride. It was a room full of 1,500 queer people.
Wow.
Just because the country...
In the country.
Lagos,
Okay.
Nigeria, the video is on YouTube. In Lagos, Nigeria, the only reason I didn't cancel it, because I told you I'm in mourning, is because I had already committed to doing it. And they were like, look, you're queer, you're out there. We want people to see, those of us who are out there, who made it out, that it's a thing. And so I stopped a long time ago being the person who wants to hide what I didn't create, what I didn't make. I didn't make myself black as much as I made my eyes black, or, people have blue eyes. So, go ahead.
Let me ask you one other question.
Sure.
Okay, we got a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I wanted to be able, first of all, you definitely, in my opinion, as a compliment, do not look queer or gay. And I really appreciate that.
I'm bisexual.
Okay, bisexual.
Which is a sexuality.
Okay.
But I prefer the word queer, because queer in the 60s, 70s was a term that was used like the N-word. It was derogatory for the community. So now the community, it's like, well, we're going to take our word back. So that's what most people are using the word, plus it's one syllable.
Can you talk about that?
Oh, wait. Yeah.
Oh.
Let me ask you a question. You got an amazing story.
Oh.
Can you stay for our next segment?
Yeah, I'm already here.
Okay.
It will help me not think about my uncle.
Okay.
Oh, I appreciate it.
So we're going to go ahead and take a break, and we're going to come back with Dr. Lulu and hear her amazing story and teachings.
Yeah, please ask me any questions you have. I'm here already. It's not a problem.